Gudra, somewhat of a tricky Pokemon to deal with the backline. Not going to fancy that electric or grass type coverage, but we've got that Hail Mary and we're full sending. Does the opponent respect the damage? The opponent gets nuked through 2 Protect Shields and we look to absorb the damage onto Blastoise. Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jamie Finn1415 and I love two things, Shadow Pokemon and Spice. Today we've got the perfect combination of them both and I'm introducing you to the absolute sleeper pick that everyone has missed despite getting a buff this season. If you're going to take a look at the current meta, it's full of a lot of common water types, 2 of them which I'm testing out myself today. You can also add stuff like Feraligatr, Azumarill, mud boys like Gastrodon, Swampert, pure ground types like Marowak, and even Claydol, all things that a grass type is absolutely going to eat up. This meta currently has one grass type that's pretty common, Superior. Superior is favoured because it's very bulky and got access to that busted move of Frenzy Plant. However, there's arguably a grass type move that's even better than Frenzy Plant, and that is Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade is without a doubt one of the best moves in the game. 35 energy for 70 damage, that is a whopping 2.0 DPE, and that is not including the fact we're a grass type and getting same type attack bonus on top of that. Having access to such a powerful, cheap charge move not only makes you a monster in type advantage matchups, it means in neutral situations you're favoured as well, just because of just how good and spammy Leaf Blade is. I'm going to tell you how spammy Leaf Blade is. It's 9 turns to the first 3 and only 6 turns to the 4th, which is absurd. To this point, the main issue Blossom's had in the Go Battle League is his only coverage move is Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam used to cost 70 energy, taking an absolute eternity to get to. It's now a lot cheaper, meaning you actually get to that coverage move and it helps out quite a lot. It gives you that ability to one-shot Pokemon such as Malamar. Spoiler alert, you're going to see that today. And it also means in the 1 to no shield scenario, you can actually beat Mandibuzz due to the ability to 2-shot and them not being able to reach 3 aerial aces in time. To help cover Blossom's vulnerabilities to flyers, ice types and fire types, we're going with double water. This is the home of Shadow Pokemon. I'm going to be testing out both Blastoise and Lapras and giving my honest opinion. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we are not off to the best start. G-Weezy fully walls Blossom, so I say switch into Blastoise. Blastoise will be the safe switch on today's team and I've opted for Ice Beam to help cover for any grass types that might think they can switch in. We've got Lapras in the back, and on Lapras I'm opting for Skull Bash. If you've got a Lapras on Ice Beam and you want to test this team out for yourself, use Lapras as your safe switch and use Skull Bash on Blastoise in the closer position to help out against other water types they might have lurking in the back. The opponent sent up Malamar, commit to that full Psywave farm down and leave with double charge moves. This thing is so incredibly spammy, we're going to absorb all the energy and just fire off the Leaf Blade, removing them from the field of play. I'm going to instantly switch into Lapras and save Blossom as the potential 3rd shield. The opponent sends back out G-Weezy. I've already seen Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz will be getting same type attack bonus on their charge move. G-Weezy doesn't, but I actually think that G-Weezy probably hits harder as Mandibuzz hits like a wet noodle. With that in mind, invest a Protect Shield, overfarm, fire off the Sparkling Aura, removing them from the field of play. In this matchup, we're an Ice type, but unfortunately this isn't the best matchup for me. I am going to shield the first move, as it will do the most damage, as I'm going to buff up my own defense with the Skull Bash. Skull Bash hits for neutral and a lot of neutral damage at that. It looks like 2 Skull Bashes will be lethal, but the question is, do we survive 2 Dark Pulses with a buff defense? The first one doesn't quite do 50% of my remaining HP. With the residual snarls, it'll be very close to knocking out. We bank a buckler of energy, make the catch, back onto Blossom, and now we find ourselves in the bait game. Am I going to Sparkling Aura? Am I going to Full Send? We Full Send. The opponent looks to call the bait. We nuke them through the Protect Shield, and despite a tricky lead, we're off to a 1-0 start. In the next battle, the tough leads continue. Once again, we pivot into Big Boy Blastoise, baiting out that grass type. We've got Ice Beam, and you better believe I'm Full Sending. Ice Beam forces the Protect Shield. Clearly, this opponent has no balls. When building this team, of course, Superior is a very problematic Pokemon, but we have some wiggle room. There's some pretty entertaining battles later, that's all I'm saying. We're going to send back out Blossom. Blossom going to take super effective from the aerial aces. However, 1 easily survivable. We're going to throw the correct 1 Bullet Seed and the Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam does some decent damage. Back out comes Talonflame. We pivot into Lapras. I think I really should shield this, but actually opt to tank the first one, knowing they're likely on flame charge, looking to vamp up their attack. Unfortunately, ice water means fire hits for neutral, and these incinerators now tearing through my HP. We need to reach double sparkling aura, but I think I simply get farmed down. We're going to fire off the first sparkling aura, of course. The opponent goes all in on Talonflame, get the incinerate farm down. I want none of that work. And despite me saying the opponent had no balls, they clearly beat me, and we take a loss. GG's that opponent. Of course, I talk a lot of smack, but there's no disrespect meant to any opponent. It's just me trying to have some fun at shoutcasting. In the next battle, we see Gligar in the lead. What is this, like season 10 or something? We say switch into Blastoise. The opponent fires off the dig and then send out Toxapex. We had a buckload of energy. The opponent shields, fearful of the Skull Bash. We've not got it, but you've always got to fake it till you make it. The first observation I've made using Shadow Blastoise, it doesn't quite hit like Shadow Swampert or Shadow Feraligatr do. The Hydro Cannons don't quite do as much, but you do have more bulk because you're more defense weight. You kind of hang around a little longer, but output less damage. Rather than concede a farm down, I pivot out into Blossom. The opponent, like a savage, bait me with a brine. Oof, that's a bit cheeky, buddy. We're going to fire off the Leaf Blade, removing them from the field of play. Back out comes Gligar, and this matchup isn't as bad as you might think, especially with an energy lead. Leaf Blade hits for neutral, and a lot of neutral damage at that. Blossom forces the opponent's final protection at this point. I'm happy to let it go down, but the opponent actually doesn't have Aerial Ace. They've got Night Slash. Night Slash means we're able to survive. Good fast move timing would have been one Bullet Seed and the charge move. I'm unsure if I survive two wing attacks. I opt to instant throw and make the pivot into Lapras. Out comes the Pancake, aka the Unova Stunfisk. Stunfisk does not appreciate that Spark and Aura that instantly rocked into the red. Lapras going to invest the final Protect Shield, blocking up the Discharge. Discharge this season has been reworked. It costs less energy, but does less damage. With that in mind, I know I'm going to survive one. Commit to that Psywave farm down, leaving with the Sparkling Aura. And just like that, that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see the ever-annoying, bulky Vulture, PvPoke's #1 ranked pick, Mandibuzz. There's me doing a 2-minute intro, hyping up Blossom, saying it's the secret sauce, and all we've seen is lost lead after lost lead. However, I know what I'm looking for is out there. I'm going to stick with the team and look to go hunting for it. I attempt to catch an Aerial Ace onto Blastoise unsuccessfully. The opponent bank a buckload of energy and send out Annihilate. I throw the first Hydro Cannon. I throw the second one on alignment, and that is intentional. I want the opponent to make the first shielding decision of the game. Once again, we can see the difference using Blastoise. I expected to be knocked out by that Rage Fist, but we're actually able to survive. That gives the opponent more farm, but I'm still able to one and throw the Leaf Blade for optimal timing, maximising my farm and remove them from the field of play. We pivot into Lapras, and out comes Grumpig. This game doesn't look promising, but you've got to play it out. We've got a shield advantage, a shield at the Dynamic Punch. I'm hoping that I can Skull Bash and resisted Psywave farm down. I think at this point that's probably my win con. Can we get it? We look for the Psywave farm down. Unfortunately, the opponent just about survived, and this game probably is over. Unfortunately, with no Ice Beam, we're not going to be able to do any meaningful damage on this Mandibuzz. We're going to need like 2 Skull Bash, a Skull Bash and a Sparkling Aura. The opponent fire off the Dark Pulse. We then make the catch back onto Blossom, giving me a fighting chance. Despite this being a dreadful matchup, we might be a grass type. We've got that coverage move. We force in the Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam sneaks through the protection and rocks him deep into the red health range. The opponent continued to farm up energy, looking to double up, and they have absolutely thrown the battle. Leaf Blade forces the opponent's final protection. The opponent does get that double up they needed, but Mandibuzz, an ever bulky, boring Vulture, has a non-existent attack stat. We've got a charge move banked on Lapras. We win the charge attack priority, and Jamie Finn steals a dub. GG's. Heading into the next battle, this time we find ourselves winning a lead. Kanto Marowak. And what's even better for me is this opponent is opting to stay in. We're going to farm up, throw the Leaf Blade on a charge attack priority to a potential Rock Slide. The opponent invests a Protect Shield. I'm more than happy to match. Even if the opponent Bone Club bait me, they're never ever outpacing Blossom. The opponent fire off the Rock Slide. Send out Gator. My trainer, you are so weak. We fire off one further Leaf Blade, picking up the one shot. Get that Gator off my screen, and that opponent's already out of it in the next battle. After losing a lot of leads, we stick with Blossom, and Blossom rewards us. We see Claydol, the opponent save switch into Ferret, which is quite a problematic Pokemon for me to deal with. Ferret this season, of course, got access to Trailblaze, and my backline isn't going to fancy tanking. However, as we're a grass type, they're forced to go for Swifts. Swift does a lot, but we do survive one. We're going to farm up, throw yet another Leaf Blade, forcing the opponent all shields down, and we're going to make the pivot into Blastoise. I will be respecting a potential Trailblaze, which the opponent throws. If this was a Gator, I think from this range, Hydro Cannon would be lethal, and if I'm honest, I thought it would be here. Unfortunately, the opponent able to survive in the red health range, and they're going to reach one departing Trailblaze. I'm also going to burn my final Protect Shield, then look for the rollout farm down. The opponent not wanting to concede a farm down, pivot back out into Claydol. I'm not sure if I win charge attack priority here. I haven't used Blastoise since like season 7 or something, so I play it safe, throw the Hydro Cannon, one quick move before the opponent reach the Scorching Sands, getting off some very nice chip damage. I send out Lapras. Of course, the Psywaves are resisted, as Psychic does resist itself. Rather than throw a charge when it's such a low health Pokemon, we farm up, make the Rock Tomb catch back onto Blossom. The opponent go for the undercharge, but that actually helps me get off one further Bullet Seed, which means we're able to fully Psywave farm them down. The opponent sends out Clodsire, try to make the catch back onto Furret unsuccessfully. And now Clodsire is going to get a nice little drink. The first Sparkling Aura rocks them below half health, and the second one is going to remove them from the field of play. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Malamar in the lead position. Leaf Blade would do a lot of neutral damage, but will not one-shot. You know what will one-shot? A Dazzling Gleam. If you've got any doubt if I'm going to bait, you clearly have never watched this channel. The opponent throw the superpower, then make the pivot into Clodsire, and I am going to respond with Lapras. What I want to do in this matchup is actually soft lose. And the reason for that is, I know after throwing one Sparkling Aura, they're going to be left deep in the red health range. I don't actually want to win this matchup. Knocking him out and then get Psywave farmed down by Malamar, that energy will be incredibly scary. So instead, what we're going to do is let Lapras go down and send out Blastoise to get a very nice 2 rollout running start. Out comes Charger Bug, a very scary Pokemon of this team to deal with. 3 turn into 4 turn is kind of awkward. You want to throw either 1 or 5. So I throw 5 rollouts, that's 15 turns into 16 turns, only giving them 1 free turn. We then go for the correct 1 rollout and the Hydro Cannon, maintaining disciplined fast move time. I look to go for the CMP sack. Unfortunately, apparently Blossom loses CMP. I think I should always shield that. But I think this game's over, unfortunately. We are going to be able to remove Charger Bug from the field of play with the Hydro Cannon. But is it even a Jamie Finn upload of his own battles if I don't die with 2 shields intact? Even though I would have reached the Hydro Cannon, which I was unable to do so, it clearly wouldn't have knocked out. And we are going to take a loss. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Superior in the lead. As I said earlier, a very big problem for this team. It's going to be all 3 of my Pokemon outright. However, just because you see something that beats your team, it doesn't mean you can't beat a team that has that Pokemon. You just got to have a plan on how you're going to beat it. So you're going to throw the Dazzling Gleam. I'm then going to farm up, pause a turn, and make an Aerial Ace catch onto Blastoise. Yes, that's right. We're switching our Water type into this Grass type. Looks like the opponent's more than happy to stay in. Look to fire off the Frenzy Plant, which I will be respecting. After this, I'm going to throw 2 rollouts. This, of course, is alignment. However, I'm anticipating the opponent not shielding as we're doubled up, which means we don't actually take that Vine Whip, keeping more health. Out comes Blastoise, the opponent flexing the sunglasses. Unfortunately, the Shadow doesn't have the sunglasses. Come on, Lantic, where's my sunglasses, Shadow? We farm up, baiting a Skull Bash, forcing the opponent's first protection. Once again, we farm up, baiting that Skull Bash, forcing the opponent's final protection. Then go for the wham, bam, combo play, pivot out into Blossom with the Leaf Blade loaded, rocking them deep into the red health range. Blastoise going to fire off the Skull Bash, which easily picks up the knockout. And I'm actually really happy they Skull Bash. It means Lapras is going to get slightly more farm. I wait out my clock. Give me the best chance to sack Blastoise if I need it. Out comes Primeape. The opponent farms up to a potential CC. This is likely a bait, but no bait. We'll be saving this opponent's fate. I see your Skull Bash and I raise you my own Skull Bash. Easily going to pick up the 1-shot and we take that game. Superior lead, who was worried? I'll be honest, me, I was worried. In the next battle, we found ourselves a Morpeko lead. This is definitely where the team wants to see it, as the backline is terrified of this thing. The opponent can throw whatever they like. The Electric Aura Wheel supposed to be resisted, but let's be real, it didn't look all that resisted. I throw the correct 1 Bullet Seed and the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade would probably knock them out, as Morpeko cannot tank a hit for shit. Again, we're going to want to throw the next Leaf Blade, looking to remove them from the field of play. The opponent goes all in on Morpeko. They continue to stay in. I look to fire off the next Leaf Blade, but the opponent makes a very nice catch, catching onto Ferrothorn, another thing my team has 0 answers for. Blastoise can at least hit for neutral with the Ice Beams, and I need to get off some sort of chip damage. I'm going to shield 1 Power Whip. I need to save 1 Protect Shield for that energy that Morpeko's got. Ice Beam hits for neutral, but a non-stab Ice Beam from Blastoise simply doesn't cut it. The opponent going to fire off the next Power Whip, and I've always got to tank this. Blastoise unable to tank the damage, and I'm in such a tricky spot. I'm going to fully wait out my clock, send out Lapras, and when the opponent receives the energy for the Power Whip, we're going to look to catch it back onto Blossom. We managed to make the catch back onto Blossom, saving our shield to hide behind Power Whip, picks up the knockout, the opponent pivots back out into Morpeko. We've got the energy for the Sparkling Aura removes Morpeko from the field of play. The opponent sends out Shadow Gator, and I'm very, very appreciative for having Skull Bash. Ferrothorn, of course, is low, but the Sideways are resisted, so with that in mind, they might reach your moves. I've always got to tank whatever Gator throws. We throw one Sidewave and the Skull Bash, ensuring Gator's still on my screen. Can the opponent Bullet Seed farm down Lapras with a buffed up defense? And no, they cannot. Lapras, far too tick, far too strong, and we take that game. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Steelix in the lead. You can add this thing to list of things that Blossom likes to see, as the Thunderfangs are resisting, doing very little fast move pressure. Unfortunately for me, this opponent's running Crunch that actually has quite a lot of neutral damage, but thankfully we don't get our defense debuff. We throw one Bullet Seed and the first Leaf Blade. Unfortunately, the non-Shadow Steelix can tank 2. If it was a Shadow on Shadow Crime edition of this battle, 2 Leaf Blades would be removing them from the field of play. Thankfully though, Blossom is so incredibly spammy, we're still going to be able to win this zero shield scenario. To my surprise, the opponent invests to Protect Shield. I'm not going to shield this Psychic Fangs knowing I do survive. We're then going to pivot into Blastoise, and I'm going to commit to a very aggressive rollout farm down. The opponent reaches one further Psychic Fangs. Blastoise is going to tank the damage. These rollouts doing very, very little fast move pressure. That's probably better as we get even more farm. Out comes Gastrodon, and I'm quite happy with the debuff defense, meaning this thing is going to get less farm. The first Hydro Cannon lands, the second either going to force the final protection or cleanly knock him out. The opponent invests the protection. If you're weak to a water type, buddy, I've got a surprise for you. We've got another water type. Out comes a Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death, but they're going to be straight in and straight out. Lapras fires off the Sparkling Aura, picking up the one shot. Back out comes Gastrodon. We've got 2 shields, and the opponent concedes the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Malamar in the lead. The last opponent went for the Super and Dip, not giving him the opportunity to YOLO and nuke, trying to nuke him through 2 protections. His opponent throws the foul play and continue to stay in. We're full sending. Does the opponent respect the damage? Bang! There it is. Shout out the GOAT, Oxford U, for that quote. Come on, buddy. It's been ages since you've uploaded. Get yourself back playing the game. This season's pretty fun. Out comes Clodso, make the pivot into Blastoise, which is our soft counter. The opponent fire off the Sludge Bomb and then send out Jellicent. The opponent shields the Hydro Cannon. I'm not entirely sure why. Everything in Blastoise arsenal is resisted. However, to be fair, I guess the rollouts and the Hydro Cannons over time would get him low. The opponent recognising they want to remove Blastoise from the field of play, thinking that is probably my only Clodsire counter. But of course, I am running double water. I send back out Blossom. The opponent fire off the Surf Bait, then make the pivot back into Clodsire, bank our energy, and send out Lapras. They've already shown Sludge Bomb, so it's very unlikely Stone Edge of their second move. They're probably running Earthquake. I think Earthquake's kind of mandatory. The opponent fire off the Sludge Bomb, recognising they're going to need multiple moves to knock us out. We fire off the Sparkling Aura, rocking them deep into the red. Again, this Sludge Bomb won't be lethal. I am going to commit to the Psywave farm down. I was thinking, should I stop tapping and look to reach double Leaf Blades? But I think that's really overthinking the situation. We're going to fire off a Sparkling Aura, make the pivot back into Blossom. The Sparkling Aura just stalled out my clock, and we're now doubled up on Leaf Blades because Blossom is such a spammy fest. The first one forced the protection on the charge attack priority. Even the opponent was doubled up, which they're not. We've got the higher attack and would be able to take this game regardless with Blossom on cleanup GE. GG's and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow Gator in the lead. A fantastic lead for us, but once again we see Superior hit the field of play. We know this thing's a problem for us, but we beat the last one. Can we beat another one? We're going to tank the Aerial Ace, throw one Bullet Seed and the Dazzling Gleam, getting off some very much needed chip damage. And then as we did previously, we're going to farm up and look to catch the Aerial Ace onto Blastoise. Thankfully, we're able to do that successfully. As we was able to sneak a rollout, I'm just going to go straight for the Hydro Cannon, looking to just remove this Grass Snake from the field of play. The opponent doesn't shield Superior. Blastoise is a Superior counter confirmed. Honestly, that's a joke, but pretty happy to see it no longer on my screen. Out comes Shadow Dusclops. Blastoise going to fire off the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon forces the opponent's first protection, and they're going to be unable to Hex farm me down. Blastoise has done its job, and we can just line things up how we want to. Of course, send Lapras into this Dusclops and save Blossom for that Shadow Gator. The opponent fire off the Shadow Punch. We featured Dusclops, my first upload of the season. Yes, it's bulky, but I think Shadow Punch is such an underwhelming move. We tank both, fire off the Sparkling Aura. Sparkling Aura going to either force the final protection or get them low. It rocks them into the red health range. The opponent pivots back out into Gator, but Gator, we're far too spammy for any of your Shadow Claw, Hydro Cannon spam nonsense. The first one, forced to protect shield. The second, going to be removing them from the field of play. Back out comes Dusclops. We're going to simultaneously KO. We've got Lapras alive, and despite seeing superior, we 2-shield flex. GG's for that opponent. In the next battle, we see Lapras in the lead. The opponent say switch into Sableye, and this is where I'm going to chip and dip. We're going to fire off the Leaf Blade and put them in a range where one Hydro Cannon will be lethal. This is actually a purified Sableye. They farm up to the return, so I am going to respect it. The opponent just fire off the foul play. That's fine. That means this can only be a foul play. Foul play is another one of them moves that was reworked in Season 22's move rebalance. It costs less energy, but also does less damage, so Blastoise is easily able to withstand one. We go for the correct one roller and the Hydro Cannon, removing them from the field of play, and back out comes Lapras. Unfortunately, we don't have Skull Bash, we're just going to go for the roller and Hydro Cannon spam combination. I think we're only going to reach 2, but even that should put in quite a lot of work. Lapras going to find itself below half health, and the rollouts even get him into the red. We're just going to send out Lapras. We know we can tank any one move. The opponent insta-throws. I'm hoping this is an Ice Beam. It's actually a Sparkling Aura, but that's still fine for me. Out comes Roserade. Despite the typing advantage for the opponent, the Psy Waves tearing through the HP. We're at a shield disadvantage. I opt to catch the Weather Wall onto Blossom. The opponent goes to the undercharge, looking for that farm down, but they undercharge too much, meaning we're going to reach a Leaf Blade, even double resisted. The opponent know this is their key to victory. They're going to burn the final Protect Shield. I send back out Lapras. Fire off one Psy Wave and the Sparkling Aura. Sparkling Aura forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and they're now going to get Psy Wave farm down. Lapras burns the final Protect Shield, looks at Psy Wave farm down, which we're able to get. We leave with the Sparkling Aura, and despite this being resisted, the opponent is so low that resisted Sparkling Aura is going to pick up the dub. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see a shiny Goodra in the lead. This is somewhat of a problematic Pokemon. It likely has Legacy Thunder Punch, which our backline isn't going to want to tank. We stay in, full send the Gleam, nuking them through 2 Protect Shields, and we look to catch the charge move onto Blastoise. That rollout is even going to knock him out. The opponent fire off the Aqua Tail. Blastoise able to snipe. Has the opponent quit the app? It looks like it. No, they actually send out Dunsparce. The opponent's still looking to play it out. We're going to farm up, throw the Hydro Cannon on the CMP tie. Hydro Cannon lands, rocking them below half health. Dunsparce certainly feeling the rollout nerf this season, not doing as much fast move pressure as it once did. We tank the drill run, farm up once again, play into CMP. So if you're the opponent in this matchup, you've seen you lost CMP the first time, I'd recommend not making the same mistake again. Drill run picks up the knockout. I'm going to send back out Blossom, as Blossom going to be in a nice matchup here and going to be able to outspeed. We bank the Leaf Blade, the opponent sends out Toxapex, and here comes Lapras. Lapras tearing through Toxapex with these sideways. The opponent farm up to Sludge Wave, which I will be respecting. The opponent full send, and I'm going to follow suit, full send the Skull Bash. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. Skull Bash lands, vamping up my defense. Lapras going to be able to fully sideway farm them all the way down. Back out comes Dunsparce. We've got double charge with bank, the Sparkling Aura on Lapras, the Leaf Blade on Blossom. The opponent recognises the game's over, tank the damage, and we take that game. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's showcase. I think this is a very fun team. If you've got these 3 Pokemon, you can certainly give it a try for yourself. I think Blossom is such a core breaker. There are so many water types. Despite me not actually seeing too much of the correct alignment, Blossom put in so much work. I think Blastoise, yes, it's very good, but I think it takes some time to get used to. I kind of couldn't get my head around just how little them Hydro Cannons did from the Shadow version. Of course, I'm used to using stuff like Gator and Swampert. Lapras, without a doubt, a new top tier threat that you're going to have to get used to seeing. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, my battle submission form is linked down below. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.